But when you have increment, then you can plan for an endgame and stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, we are live now on the stream, so folks can see and hear us. So yeah, hi everybody. We are back, continuing our training. Yes, absolutely. Okay. And let me grab Marten's profile here.
Yeah, so I'm doing an open seek. Yeah, it's 10+2 on chess.com. So it's from 1500 to 2000 around.
Yes. Good. 10 bags. Okay, so if anyone wants to play here with Marten as on the stream here, here's a link to his profile. He's got an open seek out, but also happy to practice with dojoers, even though they're a little bit tough, right, Marten?
Yeah, it was very. I like tough competition. Yeah, so it was good games. Yeah, but I think it can be very like each time the quality. Yeah.
Yeah. By and
But we will.
large, the people from Chess Dojo are like a little bit underrated because a lot of them are training. So if they're training and practicing, sometimes they've gotten a little bit better and the ratings hasn't caught up, or they're playing with each other so their ratings aren't going up. So
Yeah, I think the first guy, he didn't have so many rapid games played. Yeah, so he's probably mostly classical or daily.
Yeah, a lot of them play classical, but we have some blitzers too. So yeah, we're looking, folks, for someone between, let's say, 1,500 and 2,000.
Yes, rapidchess.com.
Hey, Cats Play.
Otherwise, we can play a handicap game again.
That's true. Yeah. Definitely possible. I suppose we could do it while waiting for folks to trickle in, because I just started the stream. So if you want, I could challenge you to a game. We can get started like that. So we'll go 3-2. No, we want 10-2.
Okay.
All right. Challenge is on.
So how should I do it? Okay. So you will suck a piece, just.
Yes. Yar. All right.
Okay.
Now I will play as hard as I can from here on out.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Okay, bishop g2, diagonal, bishop g5, queen e5, knight f3. I can't really stop him doing what he wants. Sorry. I'm giving him something tricky to think about here because he's going to want to play bishop g2. And then because he's up material, maybe he should trade, but he'll turn... Basically, I'll get a full pawn back if I take back because these 2 pawns right now are worth about 1 pawn. Ooh, he didn't go for it. Ay, clever. Clever guy. Should I put more pressure or bide my time? Boom. Bully. Bully. I don't know if bullying is really the way to go against this opponent, but we're going to try it.
Trying to develop a piece,
Yeah. Not a bad idea to develop the pieces. Got to keep those fundamentals. Queen c2 is an interesting possibility. Okay, so he goes for development, but that means he doesn't challenge this as much. I could take en passant, and he just brings out a piece. That's terrible for me. I should keep this to bother him with. He's going to want to come here. It's not easy to defend this pawn after that. I don't really have any way to defend this pawn if he really goes after it here. We'll see what he comes up with. He's keeping up with my speed. Got to give him something to worry about. I can't defend my light squares. You know, trying to set up c6 and queen e6 and stuff, there's just no way. So I'm just going to try and make threats and see if I can't bully him into defending instead of fighting. Because like even here, he could look at moves like queen c6, hitting the rook, going to d5. But you have to have like an aggressive mood to do that, right? When your opponent's playing moves like this, it's normal to start looking at what your opponent's doing. Oh, maybe he wanted to do this to trade my queen. Well, it took me a moment to realize. But that's a big concession. I get 1 or 2 pawns out of this, right? Oh, he's going to have a hard time winning this endgame. This is good enough. This is good enough to make a game of it. Should I put the pawn here or the rook here? I think I like the pawn better. On g3, I mean. Sorry, that didn't make sense. I think I like the pawn better on g3 than on h2. So I might take on h2 with my rook instead of the pawn. But this endgame, I already have like a small chance to actually save it. This would be a very difficult endgame for the opponent to win and wait. I assumed the bishop would go to g2, but what's he going to do now? At this point here, you know, I just kind of assumed the bishop was here, not here. And I didn't really rethink because I'm trying to go fast. But now realizing the bishop's not there, I mean, this looks powerful. Okay, he's going to go knight f4. Check, check. King takes g3. So the best I can do is take on b2, actually, which is not that amazing. Then he's got this. Okay, I'm gonna have to be sneaky. Set something of a trap. Perfect. I felt like he needed to play rook c1 against this, but he played sort of like a soft move because I played a move that was less threatening for a moment. Oh, there's kind of an evil trap here too. A very good trap. Okay, let's double check the trap. Oh yeah. Sick. Devious.
Nice.
Austere Chess with the scouting report. Yeah, I know she's good. We don't need to get first place in every single section. I think she is the top seed in this group. So my aspirations would be to get maybe second place in this group. Now I started relaxing because I knew I was up a bunch of pawns. I gotta get back into the mode. Gotta give him the full killer feeling. Just calculate something, you know, move your eyes around the board and start calculating something when you start going limp or relaxed. Just force yourself to look at anything, even if it's not relevant, and then, you know, your brain will kick in sluggishly after a moment and start looking at things that matter. It's not easy to win with opposite colored bishops. You blunder one of these pawns and then suddenly I predicted that move. So much for turning my brain on, right? Okay, I considered that move too.
Okay, I should give up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, nice game.
Yeah, that was a tough
Mm.
one.
Yeah,
Um,
I missed yeah, one tactic.
yeah, there was one very, very evil trap I laid there with that rookie two move,
Yeah.
which I had spotted would be a devious enough trick that there was a good chance someone falls into it. Um,
Mm.
but other than that, I would have one sort of general thought, which is um, I feel like just in general, you could play
Mhm.
slightly more aggressively in this
Okay.
game. I don't know if that's the case in all your games.
Mhm.
I don't know if it changes slightly because you're playing me, or changes slightly because you've got a small material lead, or if it's just, everything changes from day to day and game to game. But I felt in this game, um, you could have tried to like push me a little bit more, make a few more threats. Um,
Okay.
and specifically, like, I don't know if maybe, and it maybe you didn't notice where I was a little bit weak, but I was a little bit weak on some light squares at c6 and d5.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah, if I should have moved out the queen. But I was thinking I can, if I castle, then my bishop will be powerful on that diagonal.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Castling
but then,
castling was
yeah.
fine. I mean,
Mm.
sort of in the middle game, um,
Okay.
and even in the
Yeah,
end
yeah.
game, there was a move like there's a move in the end game
Hmm.
when things were already pretty tricky.
Yeah.
Because I had maybe two pawns for the piece, and if you click to move 22 in the game, I considered playing rook a to h8 to threaten checkmate.
Hmm.
And I saw you would play knight f4, and I could check your king, and I can't checkmate him. And if I take
Mm.
the pawn on b2, you can take the pawn on d5 with check, and then my king's weird, and my whole structure's falling apart.
Yeah.
So I played the move c6. And the point of c6 is to defend d5. So when your knight comes to f4, I'm holding my pawn position together, and your knight and bishop can't sort of get free.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, so at that moment, I think you really have to play rook to c1 instead of e1
Yeah, yeah.
to attack my pawn, because you need to knock out that pawn to knock out the next pawn to knock out. You know what I mean? You have to
Yeah.
attack me.
Yeah, I
Um,
was thinking like later I got the plan to put my bishop on b7, but your rook
mhm.
were controlling the b file.
Yeah, by then I'd gotten control.
Uh,
So in general, I was only giving you a chance for one move at a time. I was like trying to like defend things as fast as I could, but because I'm behind, I can't defend everything. So I'm sort of scrambling to try and defend my weaknesses.
yeah.
Um, but
Yeah, so you need to bluff a bit. Yeah, to play aggressively.
yeah, I mean, the opportunities come and go pretty quickly, right? I had to defend d5. This was the only way I could do it. I saw that if you played rook c1, I'm still under a lot of pressure slash struggle to hold my position together. But
Oh, I see now. Yeah, my bishop is cutting off your king. I
right,
didn't think about it.
so I
Yeah.
don't have king d7 or rook c8. Um,
Yeah.
and it's awkward for me. And a similar thing would have been a little bit earlier in the game. Let's see if I can find the move.
Hmm.
Okay, yeah, let's go to move 16. You trade pawns on e4. F takes e4, F takes e4.
Hmm.
See that position?
Yeah, so yeah. So I was thinking if I could suck the rook here, but I couldn't get it. I couldn't figure it out.
Right. So what you need to do here is attack the d5 square as fast as possible in this position, I think. And in this position,
Queen c6 or yeah.
right, in this position, you played two slightly slow moves. This is where I started to sort of get some compensation and make the game tough. You played
Yeah.
e3, which is more or less unnecessary.
Yeah, it's like a habit move.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a habit move. It's
Um,
like it cleans your
yeah.
position a little bit, right? It's a little nicer. Your d-pawn's better defended. But it's
Mm.
not necessarily super important compared to, I mean, even a simple developing move like rook c1, might
Yeah,
be.
I played Kiriyama Kazu earlier today,
Hmm.
Francisco,
Yeah.
and I made a A3 move, and it was like totally unnecessary because I was afraid of him attacking my queen with the knight.
Hmm.
But we analyzed afterwards, and it would be like I can just retreat the queen and then kick him afterwards
Hmm.
after the fact. Yeah.
Yeah. So in
So
this position here, like basic moves would be knight c2 or rook c1, just kind of a developing move,
yeah.
right? One connects the rooks, one puts the rook on the c file. It's not yet clear what you can do with the c file, but it's probably better than a1. So those are like average moves, right? Those are maybe okay moves, blitz moves. But
Mm.
if you really want to like crack me, you have to break the d5 square. If you break that d5 square, my
Mm.
position will start falling apart. So in that position, I think queen c6 instead of
Oh
e3.
yeah. Yeah, it's like a French. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have to do something like rook b8, and you should just trade those pawns because it's very important for you to break my pawns in the center. So don't worry about b2, right? You play like queen d5, rook b2, and then you probably take on e4 with your queen or your bishop.
Mm.
Your position will become much easier to play when you break up my center. Your
Yeah.
pieces will be happy.
Yeah, yeah, you're correct. Yeah, so my plan was to put my bishop on h3, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's
Yeah, the bishop h3 plan made a lot of sense also if there's that e4 pawn in your bishop's face, right? It made a lot of sense.
yeah.
Um, and in the game, bishop h3, queen d7, it was reasonable because you're up a piece and you're trading queens. But the timing of it, because you played e3, I had time to play h5, h4. So then you got your
Yeah.
queen trade, but at the cost of two pawns, which means the endgame's not going to be easy.
Yeah, the problem is I don't have the rook sacrifice anymore. So
Right,
so I don't like the plan because I have two conflicting plans
right.
and I mean I have 8 minutes on the clock, so I had a
Mhm.
lot of time here
That's
to
true. You're
call.
already past move 15 with 8.5 minutes. So you
Yeah.
probably are maybe a minute ahead of how fast you need to be. So if you want to, you could work a little harder on this
Mm.
move. But you know, your bishop h3, queen d7 plan, if you'd done it on move 17 without e3, it might
Mm.
have been enough to win the game, even if it's not the very best. Like queen c6, queen d5 obviously is the best, but let's
Mm.
just think about how strong your plan is. If you play bishop h3 here,
Mm.
and then I play h5, let's say, and you play queen d7, I mean, that's pretty effective. You're kind of,
Why do you play h5?
well, I don't know. That's what I played in the game. I was trying to get counterplay against g3.
Oh. Oh, okay, I see.
I
And then
what I was
okay.
trying to do, by the way, like my way of playing was I was trying to make some threats to basically make you think defensively. You see what I mean? Like when you're playing with your opponent, you're partly trying to control their mind in a way, right?
Okay.
So I'm worried that you're going to attack my d5 pawn. I don't really see a way to defend it. But if I start playing really passive moves trying to set up a defense, I'm bringing your attention to d5.
Yeah.
Like if like let's say I played, rook d8 or something where my rook is
Yeah.
passive. And you're like, why is he doing that? Oh, he's trying to defend d5. And then you start thinking about attacking my d5 pawn, right? So I
Yeah.
don't want to bring your attention to my weakness if I can avoid it. And so I'm playing h5 because I want you to start worrying. I want you to worry about g3. I want you to play defensive moves,
Hmm.
right? And then I don't have to keep defending my weaknesses because you're not thinking
Okay.
about them.
Okay, so you didn't like f3 or
No, F3 was great.
okay, yeah.
I'm just trying to show you that your plan was actually probably winning if you did it one move faster. That's just what
Okay,
I
I see.
wanted to show
Yeah.
you so that in terms of
Mhm.
thinking about how good was the plan you chose with bishop h3 and queen d7,
Mhm.
it was probably a very good plan. It was just the e3 move that sabotaged it. You know what I mean? By just slowing it
Yeah.
down a move. If you imagine on move 17, bishop h3 instead of on move 18, then you go bishop h3, I play my h5 move, you play queen d7. I can't avoid the queen trade because of checkmate on f7.
Yeah, so I do seek now. So if
Yeah.
anyone wants to play,
Okay. Marten wants
uh,
another game,
yeah.
folks. I was just trying to let you know your plan was a
yeah,
strong
yeah, I
plan,
like
right?
it. I was just thinking ahead. Yeah,
Okay, good.
I liked it. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. All right. So, he's ready for the next game, folks. I'm going to give you the his profile again for anyone who wants to play a game. We're looking for an opponent between 1500 and 2000. Oh, yes, please come play with us, Anushka. Please. Don't be too scared, Marten. She's got a very scary username. But
Oh,
you've
yeah, it's
just
fine.
you've just played with an IM, so you shouldn't be scared of a blood queen.
Yeah, there was someone. He had the username "Go Fork Yourself,"
Go fork yourself, yeah.
and I read the monster.
Yeah. At least that one's funny, you know. It's a little aggressive, but it's also funny. We're looking for 10 plus 2, Anushka. That's the time control of our tournament eventually. Or anyone else who wants to get in for a game at some point today. 10 plus 2. And we'll be playing till
Okay,
for
I got
about one more hour,
incoming.
folks.
Okay, coach.
All right. Got a game. Got a game against Coach Vache, which could be French for cow. Coach Cow.
Okay, I haven't. Oh yeah, I've seen this.
Okay. I'm just going to warn you of one thing, and then I'm going to go quiet. Your opponent didn't put a 2-second increment on the game. So,
Aha.
just so you know. It's not there.
Okay,
The little
that's
increment.
good to know. Um,
Yeah. Next one, Anushka. He's going to be playing for an hour here. Maybe he'll keep playing after I have to go, but I've got a business meeting in an hour, so you know I'll have to stop watching chess briefly. All right, so we started with an English. Black played a Dutch against the English, and now Marten is exploding the whole center here with d4. I like to see that. I'm really happy to see, you know, that he's fighting for territory, that he's not passive or defensive in his mindset. I like to see that. Black's opening is good as well, by the way, so they're both playing well. It's just I feel like there's a certain number of people here who would go into d3. It looks solid, but it's a little passive. It lets Black have this space on the king side, and then you're probably castling here, and Black's going to keep, you know, bum rushing you on the king side, right? So to me, when I see that move, I start thinking, oh, this player's a little bit too scaredy, right? Like, it's the move of somebody who's more trying to hold on to what they got instead of fighting for what they want. d4, yeah, fighting. So now we get into this position, and you know, right here, Marten played this move in about 1 second, castling. If he invested more time in his openings, but I mean, he tends to play a little bit quickly, but if he wanted to spend a little bit more of his clock time in his opening, he could consider ef5, which is aimed at hurting Black's king position a little bit, right? Either messing with the pawn structure or taking the bishop pair or something, but he's going to be worried about rook e8 check. So if you want to play ef5, he's going to have to think for, you know, 10 to 20 seconds probably dealing with rook e8. And, you know, often he doesn't prefer to invest that time early on. So he just gets himself castled. And, yeah, things are fine like so. Watching while washing. Okay, and here he plays a more aggressive move than the simple knight e4 trade. There didn't seem to be anything like super wrong with knight e4, so I think that was a case where he decided to stop and try and make the game a little more complicated for his opponent. I think that was just a choice there from Marten. Okay, h6 comes in. Probably make the trade, because otherwise he's going to be down a pawn. Queen here threatens the knight, so now he's into the fight. He's got to play slightly more complicated moves to justify what he's done here, right? If he just takes back on e4, he's going to drop a piece. So he drops into thinking mode, and that's good to see. And he should try to look at some aggressive moves like some knight hops. If he just gets pushed back by black's threat, which may have surprised him a little bit, like when he first played bishop g5, he maybe didn't plan for this. If he just drops back, he's going to get a little passive and maybe struggle to clean up that pawn that he sacrificed, right? All right, knight b5. Boys in the shed have a business meeting too. Nice. Well, I mean, hopefully nice. I would actually rather be coaching chess than going to my business meeting, as I complained and whined a minute ago, but hopefully your business meeting is nice. Oh, that's tricky. All right, so he played one of the aggressive moves. That's a great feeling. Then he grabs the pawn. Grabs another pawn. Okay. But there's lots of like hanging pieces. It's madness here, right? Gets attacked there. Does he want to trade? Does he want to push? How far ahead have we seen? There's an insane move, queen b3, which is not quite good. c5, yeah. I think he found the best move. I was just starting to feel like this position's crazy. All right. Champions League. Champions League is like a soccer competition, or maybe it's a chess.com thing too. They probably have leagues on there, like Gold League, Diamond League, and stuff. Okay, Marten's got a pretty good lead on the clock here. Complicated position for both players, but it's starting to hurt black a little bit that these guys didn't come out here, right? So b6 played, looking for some space. Marten could definitely use some of his 8 minutes to look for a good move if he wants to. He could evaluate taking this. He could evaluate supporting this, but more and more stuff dangling here. He's got to have a plan for what's going to happen with this knight as this starts to happen. Okay, he decides to try and hold it together. Makes sense. And he's got this tactical move, queen b3. But for the moment, black just moves away, and I don't really see the value in this move. So if possible, I'd rather take here first, take away that square from the king, then play queen b3. So for example, this would have been like the most complicated thing for him to calculate. Take the pawn takes here, both his knights are hanging, then queen b3, king here, and you can go for something like this. In the end, I don't think it's worth it. You win an exchange, you lose a knight, you end up behind. So I prefer, I think, what Marten did with b4 here. A big soccer tournament in Europe. Okay, and you've got a business meeting about the Champions League. So you are involved in the business of soccer. Or football, sorry, football. The business of football. All right. Coach ramps up the pressure, but now it's going to take 2 captures before these knights are hanging. So Marten could just go after the king with bishop g6. It should probably work out. Or we could look at a move like rook c1, letting black take, looking to go after c6, maybe trade on c8, take on b6, that kind of attack. Be nice to get our rooks into the game, especially on the d file, but our queen is there. Maybe there's a world in which queen b3, check now, king h7, rook d1 might somehow be good. I can't calculate why even, it's just a feeling. This feels kind of right. It feels like something good could happen. Takes, maybe takes, and maybe come in here. it feels like the white pieces are super active. I mean, we have to sack a bunch of pawns for the good feeling of getting our pieces going. Let's see what we come up with. Okay. Oh, no, that's just me. He's thinking. Wow. You've been training your chess most of the day. Fair enough. 'Cause the boys in the shed are always hard. Come talking that, and we'll pull your card. Look at Marten. This is a very complicated position. It's a prime position to calculate in. So that was great. Goes for the queen check. Alrighty. Let's see where he takes this. This is these are very, very high difficulty level moves for white here. Very challenging position for both sides. Now, like if I were playing this position against an IM or a GM, I would know that I was going to make mistakes and that my opponent was going to make mistakes, even if they're super good. For, a non-master, for players in the, what are we looking at here, 17, 1800 range, sometimes they're not fully accepting of the fact that there are going to be mistakes from themselves and their opponents. Look at that, rook d1! Woo! Sometimes they don't yet realize, like, it's okay that I'm going to make mistakes. It's okay that my opponent's going to make mistakes too, right? Sometimes they, like, put more pressure on themselves to play at a high level, and so they find it really upsetting or disorienting to be in a position this complicated. But basically what you have to do is you just use the time that you have, calculate a few moves to your abilities. Don't put extra pressure on yourself or get low on time trying to calculate more moves ahead than you accurately can. Be okay with just calculating 2 moves ahead. Whenever your calculations won't tell you enough, go with your instincts, right? I would have picked these moves, queen b3 and rook d1, off instinct, because ultimately I can't calculate them at all either. All right, solidifies the bishop, which frees up this knight to do things. If knight takes c8, black now had maybe queen e4 attacking the knight. I think rook e1 looks crushing for white there, just not defending the knight and tempoing the queen back, looking to get a rook into e7 maybe, to put a lot of pressure against the king. But, I mean, that was a really good bishop, so I would also be inclined to play f3, actually, like Marten did. This move would really be appealing. Another move I might consider would be rook fe1, defending the bishop that way and ramping up my development. That's probably a pretty good move too. But I mean, it's hard to resist a tempo, right? F3 tempo. Boom! Grabs a pawn over there. That is going to let these pieces out a little bit. What were the big alternatives here? Well, the knight is like on a hanging square, and black could play queen e3 at some point, if not now. So you really want to do something about this piece. I think probably it's good to just take a pawn like this. Yeah. Honestly, somehow some mix of like instincts and little bits of calculation. Marten is navigating a crazy position really well on a pretty tight clock here. This is one of his greatest games so far. F4, F5 was interesting as well, says Chess Lover. Yeah, F4 headed for F5, trying to crack the king and develop the rook this way. And then if queen here, your knight's still defending the bishop for one more move, so you could push it. The advantage of this, actually, in a rapid game, of Chess Lover's suggestion in a rapid game, is it makes the game very hard for black to play. So they're going to be, like, burning their time and their mind, like, trying to deal with something like this. That's, like, mind-blowing for black, because now your king's loose, and you start worrying, and again, there's the chaos of it being a position that nobody can calculate. So that was definitely an interesting option as well. All right, now here comes f4, and the knight's taking away queen e7 and queen d8. Whoo, mama. Whoo, mama. Not to mention that, oh yeah, he doesn't want to play pawn takes pawn because of queen c5 check, right? So this queen's on a very tight range. She finds f6. Now that gives Marten a very simple move if he wants, of just pawn takes pawn. Let's see what he goes for. I think he will, right? It's just so solid to grab that pawn. Everything's looking good. Black's rook is kind of stuck over here. Couldn't go to b8 because the queen would just take it. Because they're not connected yet. I feel like Marten's really feeling it this game. He's really playing sharply. He's embracing the crazy difficulty. He's spending some time thinking, but he's also never getting lower on time than his opponents. Bishop b5 might be a nice move because it grabs a tempo, right? I mean, normal would be to just drop back to e4, which is a pretty good square too. But he gets the tempo, makes the trade. Oh, is he going to play maybe rook d6? He may have wanted rook d7, but Black correctly put the rook here instead of all the way back on a8. Now, he's going to have to open up this king a little bit soon. Oh, he's going to use the pawn to try and restrain the black rooks. Actually, that could work too. I was thinking, you know, this white king is going to be really open once the black rook or rooks get to any open files. We're going to be really worried about our king. So I was thinking maybe we need to go rook d6, bishop d3, and make black worry about their king. But actually, this advancing past pawn could really... Oh, and then dominating the center with the queen. Maybe a4. Just lock it in because the black rooks are being made passive by this c-pawn. But this idea of the c-pawn is very nice. In a classical game, you know, probably a move like rook e1, you calculate and it turns out to be better than a4. But like a4 is a blitz game kind of move, right? I mean, then you can't hang your bishop. Which is helpful because then you can't hang your pawn either. Let me just wonder about one other thing here, though. So he played queen d5 here. Could he have played rook d7? You know, trying to use the pawn to keep going deeper. I think the problem is that d8's always covered there, and he leaves this hanging on for a moment. And so then you have to calculate something like queen d4 here. That's risky. So actually, it's a nice centralization move. Man, when I play the right moves in positions like this, I write it off as being sort of by accident. So I don't mean to criticize or take away from the incredible game that Marten's playing here today. When I say that, like, by accident, he seems to have played an incredible move here with queen d5. I just mean, like, it's so chaotic. I feel like I don't know what's going on. And when later I analyze it and find, like, that I played the right move, I always go, wow, that's awesome. That's random. Like, how did, like, great that my instincts just gave me that move because I could have never figured it out. And queen b6, blood queen. Yeah, oh my god. It was so bad, this rook d7 move. There's also queen b6. Maybe we don't lose the bishop because of queening. So maybe after this, they can't actually take it immediately. But it's just, it's very mess here. You know, and maybe black can make some kind of weird perpetual for us like this. Or maybe then they bring the bishop like this. So it's very, very risky, actually, my instinct to move rook d7. And this queen d5 move was super good. Okay, so he tries to keep the bishop safe like this. But it's much worse because stuff can happen now, right? And now we've got 150 against 50. The 1 minute lead could evaporate on a single move. They're both in time trouble at this point now, right? They've done a great job of spending some time thinking on critical moves, but not completely flagging. But eventually the difficulty level of this game was just so high. And now he puts a rook where it's going to be dangly, right? There could be tactics. At least it's on a light square, not a dark square. But the difficulty level was so high, eventually they were going to run out of time. No matter how responsible they were with their time, there's just no way to not mess up your time or mess up your clock or something. Okay, black tries to avoid the rook trade. I feel like his instinct is going to be to put this rook on b7 now, maybe? Oh, maybe he was playing this because he wanted to take that pawn on the queen side. If so, that's really unimportant. You don't need it. I think in a position like this, you want to lock in a4, maybe take the e file. Oddly, h4 and putting your king on h2 might be a little bit more safe than on g1, just because the diagonals can be so open in this position. Maybe you want to tuck your king up to h3 eventually. Okay, yeah, we do get rook b7. 50 seconds against 30. There's going to be a certain degree of randomness now, right? So black, who's down 2 pawns, is happier to see this than white. The randomness slightly favors the person whose position is worse, because if it hadn't gotten random, they would have probably lost. Okay, bishop b3. Threatening mate. Black sees it. Goes to the open file with the rook. Nice. But if he ever blinks from this diagonal, he's going to get hurt. Queen trade. Yes. We'll take that with a little time lead. No!
Oh, what do I...
He could just play c7 and queen the pawn here, by the way. But he's not using his couple seconds. Bishop c6. No, bishop c6. No. Wait, he could take the bishop. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Amazing. Okay, so you see what I mean about, when it's down to a few seconds, folks. They had no increment on that game as well, right? So, total...
Yeah, it was a bit kinder, so I gave a draw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Total madness at the end. Marten could have tried to keep 1 pawn on the board just to flag his opponent, but he thought it was fine to just trade down and agree to a draw there. So...
I got another one challenge.
Yeah, go for it. So to finish what I was saying there, folks, you see how when it's down to a couple seconds each, that somewhat favors whoever is losing.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'll mute it. Right, because the person who's winning, if the person who's losing blunders, the person who's winning, they can't win a second game. They can only get the 1 point that they're already sort of in range to get. And the person who's losing, if their opponent blunders, they could get a half point or a full point that they weren't due to get. That was a fantastic game. Holy moly, that was brutal and exciting. Now we've got our 2-second increment again. He did a great job of playing that game. Just like the quality of the moves throughout that game. Jeez. Okay, normally I hate to distract you, but I just got to tell you, that last game you played was like one of the greatest you've ever played. It was really, really good. Okay.
Okay, great.
Now I'll go back to being silent.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to know, like when a student makes mistakes, teachers point it out to try and teach them something or help them, right? So when they play great moves, I mean, you got to tell them sometimes. My antibody is cooking. Nice. Got my antibody cooking. This position also looks fun and interesting. Oh, our guy is black, so I'll flip it around for you. It's interesting for either color, right? These 2 pawns against 2 pawns here. What an interesting conundrum. Jumping out to a 1-minute lead on the clock. Man, he's playing so fast sometimes, these openings. But how familiar could he have been with all these moves? Right, knight b5 or bishop b5 could both be problems. And then white has time to hold the c pawn. That makes sense. Okay, it all makes sense. Yeah, maybe he can play this fast. Right on. Whew. All right, white wants to play knight g3, try and win back that pawn. Now that black's castled, they can sort of try and break open something on the other side. You're going to have to do something because your opponent's taking time to win a pawn. So while they're doing that, you got to do something. He decided to put in 10 seconds. Could have maybe been 30 seconds or so on that move. Hey, Prabhas. Every single opening at 1400 level can be played like that, with less theoretical knowledge and just, just knowing some basic ideas like bringing out your pieces, contesting the center, watching for threats. Potentially finding a safe area to tuck your king in. Sometimes people call that, castling, but castling's not always the way that you get your king safe. It's just one of them. And then the advanced opening idea, Prabhas, which I don't know if you need to do it right now, but you can definitely start thinking about it, is for your moves to make sense together. And for your moves to make sense with respect to your opponent's moves, right? So here's an example of the idea. When we see black play knight e2, blocking the bishop, right? And then knight g3, we think, oh, they're going to spend 3 moves taking this pawn. For our moves to be reasonable against the opponent's moves, we have to think, okay, so they're saying they're going to take a pawn, it's going to cost them 2 moves. So we now have time, and they're probably going to collect a pawn. What can we do with some of our time that would make sense against the opponent, right? And so you can think of 2 things. One idea is you try and break up this to counterattack those pawns, right? So that would be looking at a5, b6, moves like that. The other thing you could do is you could prepare to try and come forward with these pawns after they make their trade. That would tell you want to play like an active developing move. Unfortunately, there isn't one. You'd love to just play bishop e6, let them take. The idea is that in some position where they take, you're going to go like this. Unfortunately, these queenside pawns are smushing these pieces so much that I don't see a useful move to play for when black takes on e4 for us to take and play f5 and counterattack. So that tells me the only real choice here for black is a5. So it's that kind of reasoning that you want to start getting into. You see what I mean, Prabhas? So you've got principles, but you also have to be like, oh, my opponent is spending time to gain a pawn. What's sort of like logical against that, right? Or, oh, my opponent is developing as fast as they can, but they're not putting their pieces on the most aggressive squares. What's logical against that? Well, don't go grabbing a pawn because your opponent's ahead in development, right? Maybe try to put your pieces on slightly more active squares than your opponent, since they're not going for the best squares, but they're going fast. Just see if you can get slightly better squares for your pieces. So it just a little bit of like reasoning like that is the next step in one's opening play. Okay, so we get a bunch of trades. Now we get a5 from Marten, and he's going to struggle a little bit to prove that he has anything for the pawn that he lost in the opening here, right? The knight on d7, we've got a very strong player in chat, Chess Lover, saying the knight on d7 may have hurt black in this opening a little bit because it was keeping the queenside pieces from coming out, so it was hampering black's options. And when white went and played this sort of like aggressive in a sense, aggressive in the sense that white's trying to seize a big advantage, right? When white decided to go for grabbing this pawn from black, the knight on d7 really meant black didn't have a lot of aggressive counters, right? Or ways to go after white. a4 solidifying that area. And Marten goes straight for the trade. I would have definitely played f5 first. Oh, but then there's bishop c4. Yeah. Oops, that wouldn't work. Okay, so he makes the trade. And now just simply getting this piece back to a good square. He maybe wants to play f5 at some point. Or maybe he'll just develop the bishop and play rook c8, f5 is the choice. Oh, don't let that pawn get to c5. That'll be the Grim Reaper. That'll be Mr. Skulkum. Yeah. Marten says nope. Oh yeah, but Prabhas 1600s don't know too much theory either. It's no problem. Don't worry about it. Okay. So he could just grab this pawn. He could back it up with g5, or he could just develop the rook. But now white will trade and push e5. That's white's goal. Oh, we fell into white's goal here. Ah, he felt it too. Yeah. That is very unfortunate for us. Very unfortunate. So here, we should take. We've got a healthy pawn majority for much later on this side of the board. And that's going to give us time to play rook d8 and clean up the pawn on d6 with a great endgame for black. Now, it's going to be theoretically a lost position. Let's see if we can make any trouble for white. Marten comes up with the idea of going after this pawn. You know, now it's just about practical decisions. There's not really like a good move or a bad move or a way to actually save this for black. Ah, white worried about bishop takes c4, and that is going to save black's day. Man, white got tricked worrying about that c-pawn. Now you hear the Blood Queen speak. If they haven't beaten you before, no reason to fear them. If they have, well, you better give them payback. At moments like this, Blood Queen reminds me of Spensa from the first book, Skyward. Yeah, Marten played the riskiest option here, right? The least risky option was to take and take, but, you know, white still got a big majority, and black's is not really providing any counterplay yet. So he goes for the riskiest thing. He goes g5 and letting white defend this pawn, and then he grabs over here, and now he's got this huge majority himself. Oh, white plays a failed combination.
Okay, great.
Wow.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I beat the 2100 twice, the same player.
Mm-hmm.
But this was one of the highest. Yeah. And on Sunday I beat him 1900. Yeah, so that was a pretty good game.
Yeah.
Mm.
You got a bad opening. You were down a pawn for not much, and then you kept making aggressive choices in this endgame, and it paid off. You got good counterplay. Your opponent got worried. You see how when you played like f4 and g5 and bishop takes h3, it made your opponent stop thinking about queening his pawns, and he starts worrying about how's he going to defend against you, and then he goes and hangs his rook over there trying to stop you.
Okay, so should I play unrated? Oh, yeah.
You can play rated or unrated. Doesn't matter.
Let's see.
We're taking all customers, anyone from 1500 to 2010.
Okay, I got one 1786
Great.
or 1900. Yeah, so 1786 unrated. Yeah, so it can do some relax. Yeah, because we have to entertain.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty nice. Yeah. Okay, so we talk later maybe. If you want me to stop, you can just tell me.
Yeah, no, keep going. We're going great.
Yeah.
Okay, so Caitlin points out that black couldn't take the rook at the end of that game because d7, d8 for white. So white just got freaked out and depressed and resigned unnecessarily. So that was an argument for not resigning that game right there. Pear wants the username, so you could play the next game. Maybe Pear. Here you go. Here's his username. And finally, we get to face Blood Queen. She's playing to aggressively set up this pawn on e4, blocking the bishop on g2. Marten's seen this recently. I played like this against him in our first game today. All right, Prabhav. When you say you have 2 hours, is it 2 hours in a week, or 2 hours in a month, or 2 hours in a day, or 2 hours in a year? Two hours per day. That's great. That's a good amount of time. A very, very basic training program for you, Prabhav. Oh, sorry, Prabhas. I'm sorry, I was misreading your name this whole time. Apologies for that. I'm going to give you a very simple training plan, Prabhas, okay? It's not necessarily 100% the best possible plan ever, because I haven't seen a bunch of your games, and I'm giving it to you in like 10 seconds here, but if you've got no money, you maybe don't have a better choice. So I'm going to give you what I can, okay? 2 hours per day. That is about 12 to 14 hours a week. We're going to split your plan into 3 things. You're going to do tactics. Let's say if you've got 14 hours in a week, 5 hours of tactics a week. No, let's say 5 hours of tactics a week, 5 hours to play games and then look over your games afterwards, and 4 hours to read a Silman book. Okay? Pick one book and don't like swap between books every day. So the one book is your study material. The tactics is necessary for everybody. It's just no matter who the person is, they have to do tactics. Now, what's the best source of tactics, et cetera, et cetera? I don't have time to go through all the details of that with you, but you want to solve some tactical puzzles for about 5 hours a week. And 5 hours a week, you should play games. Depending on what time control you're most interested in, that should be the main time control you practice. Like if you're planning to play in FIDE tournaments, play like a FIDE type of control. If you're planning to play in Blitz tournaments, play a Blitz time control, etc. Okay. This knight's going to come here, I think. He's going to try and put pressure on Blood Queen's d5 pawn. Let me just dube that plan, Prabhas. Do 4 hours of tactics and 4 hours of Silman and 6 hours of playing games and looking over your games. So I'm just taking 1 hour away from the tactics and putting into what we call games and analysis. Okay, simple formula. 3 pieces to your plan. And I'll also mention to you that Chess Dojo does have a free account. I don't know how much it gives you access to, but it might give you a basic training plan or a place to log the training that you're doing or something like that. Depending on how much time Prabhas takes, Prabhas could play over all their games or just the draws and losses. Depends how much time they have. Hey, Techno Hippie. There's not one single answer to that because it depends on the person, how high rated they are, how complicated their games are, what time control they're playing, and how good they are at game analysis. So there's how experienced are you as a chess player, but also how experienced are you as a game analyst, right? But, roughly speaking, people from 0 to 1200 should spend about half as long to 3/4 as long looking at their games as they spent playing them. People from 1200 to 1600 should maybe spend as much time looking at their games as playing them. So if you spend 2 hours playing a game, spend 2 hours looking at it. If you spend 10 minutes playing a game, spend 10 minutes looking at it. And then 1600 to 2000, maybe you get up to like 1.5x. So you spend 1.5 times as much time analyzing it as playing it. And over 2000, you start to get to 2x, and then eventually at 2400, maybe 4x. And engine off for everybody at every rating level. Once you're over 2200, you can check your analysis when you're done with it. So when you're done looking over everything and think you've figured things out, then you can turn on the computer and check what you were looking at. But if you're under 2200, you want to just avoid it completely, because it's just going to build bad habits and you're not going to understand enough of what the engine tells you. If you can't even understand it, then it's of no use. You won't remember stuff or learn stuff that you don't even understand. Yeah, engines off. Engines off. Everybody. Okay, Anushka manages to defend this d5 pawn. And they played the first 9 moves really quickly. The last 2 or 3 moves, they're really thinking and getting into it. Now it's getting complicated. It's not trivial. White goes and attacks these points, but leaves queen d4 hanging, so it requires calculation. I think it's sound. If queen d4, rook d1, I assume white's going to win back a pawn. Or maybe even on e4, because the rook on d8 is undefended, right? So there's this theme of the undefended rook on d8. This line might not work for white if black's knight were developed, right? But they can't go here because you take. And if they go here, maybe you can take here, etc. So queen b3 is sound, and Anushka's thinking about it, and she comes up with trading the bishop. I figured she'd have to do that eventually. Now here, queen b7 is like a hell of a drug/hard thing to calculate. I would probably just recapture on c3 and not waste my time in a rapid game on taking on b7, because my instinct tells me no. But in a classical game, I would calculate it, because there's a chance it will work. Are there basic questions you're asking yourself when analyzing your own match? So again, Romatini, that depends on your chess level and your analysis level, right? So first of all, if somebody's a complete beginner at game analysis, which no insult intended, a lot of you sound like you are, right? If you've never analyzed games before, you want to make it as quick and simple and easy as possible, so that you just get into it, right? It's like if you teach a beginner to play chess, you don't tell them, here's how all 8 pieces moves, and here's en passant, and here's castling, and here's threefold repetition, here's the 50 move rule, and now let's sit down and play a classical game for 8 hours together, right? Against a beginner, maybe you show them how 2 or 3 pieces move, and you play like a 5-minute mini game with a couple pieces, right? And then gradually you add pieces on for them, and eventually you give them more time to think, right? So similarly with game analysis, if you're a beginner to game analysis, you want to ask yourself one single question about the game. So you keep the scope small. Rook d7, defending the b pawn. Clean pawn defense. All right, so now we need a plan for white here. My instinct is to maybe trade the good knight for the bad bishop in order to break with c4 and free the bad bishop. Whoa. I don't see any other way to break with c4, and unless we break with c4, I don't really like my pawn on c3 and my bishop on g2. I feel like I got to do something. I don't have enough pressure to win the pawn on d5, so how good is my knight really? It looks amazing, but not convinced. I think I have to trade it off and break. Maybe rook c1 to prepare it, because right now knight e6, queen e6, c4 they can take, tempo on the queen. So, okay, and here's I did think of this plan as well. You could try trading the bad bishop. And that's what Marten comes up with. Trading the bad bishop, since f3 wasn't effective and c4 wasn't effective. Fair enough. Where do most people watch the stream? Tim, right now there are 60 people on Twitch and 17 people on YouTube. So right now there's more people on Twitch, but honestly, sometimes there's more people on YouTube. It just varies by day. Boys in the Shed's question about at what point does someone need to start studying openings? 1,800, 2,000 FIDE. I mean, you can start learning. We have people in the training program start learning how to study openings already around 1400, but it's just like a small amount, you know, it's just an hour or two here or there just to start learning how to do it for later. But they don't need to do it yet, right? We just have like a very, very detailed, masterful master plan for how to slowly go all the way from 300 to, or 0 to 2500, 2600. Okay, G5. She tries to make his knight bad, not let it back into the game. Hey, Saeed, if you're looking for some fun, aggressive openings for black. Fun, aggressive openings for black. I like the suggestion from chat from Kaylin of playing f4 here. Just saying, I want to explode the situation to get this knight back into the game. I won't let it just sit on h3. I want to get my rook into the game too, maybe. I love that, because what white wants to do more than anything is kind of get the pieces into the game. But sometimes Marten plays slightly slow cleaning moves, right? So the king just gets a little bit better, defends the knight. h6. And Anushka's just, you know, building the structure. It's kind of building the fence, right, to keep the knight in. Let's see, Saeed. Martial attack for black against the Rui Lopez is a good one. Sicilians are very aggressive. You could start playing almost any Sicilian with black and you'll get very exciting or aggressive games. Yeah. Anushka, of course, is not going to just let this rook develop. And if f4, she's also going to want to play g4. That's why she put her pawn on h6, so that if f4, g4, the knight can't come to g5. Partly. So she's going to hold white in. Now, he's planning rook d3. She plays this touching e2, but he was planning rook d3 anyway. So I don't think that queen a6 move is going to be as effective as she hoped. And right here, she needed to be thinking about how to overprotect this pawn, right? So knight c6, rook d3, rook e8, and really thinking about how do we keep that pawn alive? Because the pawn is like a thorn in white's position, but white is planning to encircle it and capture it. Let's see how that battle goes in the game, because I think queen a6 is not going to do it, and white can probably just grab it up right here. Grab it, grab it. I mean by don't switch till you finish the book, Prabhas, yeah. Other openings for Saeed. Against 1d4 Saeed, you could try playing the Banco Gambit or the Budapest. Budapest and Banco are two of the best openings that are super aggressive. You could also try out something called the Albin Counter Gambit. Albin Counter Gambit. Okay. So, knight gets into good position. White's up a pawn. Black doesn't have zero compensation. There's a little bit of compensation. So, a little bit of compensation. I got to kick off in 9 to 10 minutes, by the way. Oh, yeah. Scott is correct in telling you that you can also play the King's Indian Defense if you want. Accelerated Dragon Sicilian is good. You can also play the normal dragon, Saeed. Depending on what your goal is, if you play a couple different openings, it'll help you like long term to get better by broadening your horizon. If you want to keep things simple and not worry too much about the opening, you can just play one opening again and again. Oh my god. So what was white to do about this weak square on e3? My instinct would have been to maybe try e4, sacking the pawn, but I can't quite justify it because there's still, after I do all this, there's still knight e3. It was a tough spot. I'm not sure what to do. So he decides to just, give an exchange, bring the knight back from h3. Anushka did a good job of finding compensation for that pawn really quickly on the e-file. And Marten probably reacted well to just give back in exchange, keep that pawn, and get the knight into the game. I mean, they're both fighting. They're both fighting. This point is hard to defend, though. God, that e-file. It's painful, right? We win the pawn, and then the file kills us. That's why Black had to stay active and ready, you know? Yeah, Boys in the Shed. Okay, switching from YouTube to Twitch. I read Dark Squares by Danny Wrench this past weekend. It's a great book, and it's one of those like books that's kind of on the side of chess. It's not a study book, but it's about the chess world. Other great books like that. Kasparov wrote an autobiography, which is hard to get one's hands on, in which he talks about how he felt when he was like learning chess and preparing up through his first match with Karpov. You know, they played this huge match for months that eventually got canceled with nobody finishing the match. Ooh, nice move, keeping that knight from hopping. I guess queen d2 or something will be the next move here. What else do I recommend? I mean, Searching for Bobby Fischer, you could read or watch. There's a book and a movie. That's cool. I loved a book, The Art of Learning. That's a great book written by Josh Waitzkin. And it has some chess in it and some martial arts, and it's really about how do you learn anything, right? Oof, King E1. That's mind-blowing, Tripman. You didn't know it was a book. Josh Waitzkin's dad wrote a book. He actually wrote a second book about chess called Mortal Games, which is about Kasparov, but I haven't read it. But yeah. Delusion Defense by Nabokov. That's literature. You know, a chess book without chess games and annotations in it. Max Pomerank, yeah. Maybe it's better not to be the best. Then you can lose and it's okay. I think, Pear, somehow this pin of the queen on the knight was driving white crazy, and for some reason Marten didn't think of moving the queen. And so he planned to come defend the queen with his king in order to free up the knight to be able to move, you know? But, yeah, it didn't work. Oh, yeah, Lisa, a chess novel. I've got that here. By Jesse. This is a great book by Jesse. Really, really good. Very, very fun to read. This will give you some chess culture. Ray Robson's dad wrote a book about him, which I have here as well somewhere. It's called Chess Child by Gary Robson. Chess Child. If you like Ray or you're interested in, you know, the semi-modern upbringing of chess prodigies, I'm sure it's changed a little bit in the last 15 years. Black 1. All right. Okay, very interesting game. Up till the knight on d3, of course. But, yeah, very interesting game.
Yeah, the king move wasn't so good. Yeah.
I have to go now. So do you have any questions for me before I go?
No.
No. You can definitely keep playing if you want to. There's like at least 5 people in chat asking if they can play the next game with you. Okay. So you can train. You can train all you want, but I'm gonna have to go to my meeting here.
Okay. Yeah, no problem. So I will finish off. I will I mean, I will continue playing these games that are challenge. Yeah,
All the challenges that are coming in. Cool.
yeah,
Nice. All right. Well, enjoy your games. Great session today.
yeah.
And yeah, so tomorrow is when we have our weekly Chess Dojo meeting at the same time that we normally have our lesson. So I might not be able to do a lesson with you tomorrow. Maybe we could do like 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., like 1 hour earlier than normal. But I'm also still waiting for the student in Johannesburg to
Oh,
contact me for a lesson. And if they contact me, I have to give them precedence over you because we haven't yet done anything, and I got to get them, on the path. And
yeah.
you're
So
already going.
Monday, yeah, Monday is better for me. Yeah.
Monday's better. Okay, cool.
Mm.
All right. Cheers, Martin. Great games.
Okay.
Enjoy.
Cheers, David. Yeah.
Bye.
See you. Bye bye.
Okay, now I'm going to say goodbye to chat real quick. I know there's a bunch of questions that came in. I couldn't answer them all fast enough. I've got a meeting in like 120 seconds, so I'm not going to get to all of them, but we're going to try and cover a few more questions. So, Boys in the Shed just bought Lisa. Awesome. You're going to enjoy it. That's fun. Was there chess in the Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan? Yes. There is a girl named Waverly who's a child prodigy. Of course, this is written 30, 40 years ago, so it's a little less... It's not as accurate for what child prodigy life is like now, right? Just as I said, even like the book about Ray is like maybe, things have changed pretty fast in chess. So it's maybe 15 years out of date. The computers and AI have really changed chess, plus the internet, the accessibility of training tools. But but on the other hand, it's very well written. So yeah, Waverly from the Joy Luck Club, you can read about her. There's a street in San Francisco named after her, which has a really good dim sum restaurant on it. Okay, Almany. The most important thing is analyzing your game. So I should build out that answer there. Saeed, for you, by the way, how to reassess your chess by Silman is a little bit too advanced. You say, I think it's too early for me for chess books. Yes, you're correct, Saeed. You don't need chess books for another 200 points. And that Silman book is an absolute classic, but it's probably 400 or 500 points away from where you are right now. Before you read that, if you want something with middle game plans, you could read Winning Chess Strategies by Sirawan and Silman. I'll type it in for you. Winning Chess Strategy by Sirawan and Silman. This is my number one recommendation for a first strategy book for anybody, which you should be reading at about maybe 1400. Chess.com is maybe like a good level to start reading your first strategy book if you want to. And it's written by Yasser and Jeremy. They're just among the very best chess teachers ever, period. So that's a good one for you in about, 200 points maybe. You don't have to read it, but if you're wanting it, if you hit 1400, 1450 and you want to read a chess book, that's a good one. The other thing you could do at some point, Saeed, if you want to, for the middle game, is I have a video on YouTube called What to Do in Chess. Single video that gives you an overview of chess strategy. So that Silman and Sirawan book is great, but it is probably, 20 hours to read it. If you want a solution to playing strategies in the middle game in less than 1 hour, then you could try my video. There are 3 other videos that follow it, but you don't need to watch videos 2, 3, and 4. You could watch them one day if you want to. They just kind of emphasize and give exercises to help, rub in, to help get like the lessons in from the first video. Oh, I got to go to my meeting. I'm sorry, Almany and everyone else who wanted to know about analyzing your games. Look, we've got videos on YouTube about how to analyze your games by Jesse, me, and Kostya, 3 different perspectives. We've got a book out called How to Analyze Your Games by Jesse, me, and Kostya. And a bunch of other dojoers. 100 other dojoers contributed game analyses to that book. So How to Analyze Your Chess Games is a book you could get. And I'll be back online soon enough to answer questions better. I mean, to answer questions more. I didn't
I didn't answer that badly. I just didn't have enough time. All right, I'm out, folks. Take care. Be well. Have a great day. And I'll send a belated raid. Okay, we're going to raid Phoebe Witte. She is also in CoachChamps. Don't tell me anything about her lessons. I'm not trying to watch or cheat or anything like that. I'm going to send you over there because those of you who are interested in CoachChamps might be interested in this. Cash and others from my team, don't watch. We're going to not watch the other team's lessons. All right. Cheers, everybody. Cash, I hope I'll see you soon.